Hey, welcome to Learning with Lou, and today we're going to talk about subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. This process is going to be very similar to adding fractions that have unlike denominators, so if you haven't seen that video yet, I suggest you go check it out because the process is going to be very similar. Before you could subtract fractions that have two different denominators, you're going to have to find the lowest common denominator. So that just means you have to find the smallest number that both of your denominators can turn into using multiplication. For example, here my two denominators are 6 and 8. So I'm going to go ahead and just list out my multiples of 6 and 8. And if you don't remember how to find multiples, just think about it like skip counting. If I skip count by 6's, I get 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and so on. And then I do the same thing for my number 8. I have multiples of 8. So 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. So now that I've listed out some of my multiples here, I want to take a look and see what's the first number that appears in both lists. And I can see here, it looks like the number 24 is going to be my lowest common denominator because it's the first number that both of these share as multiples. There's a 24 here for the 6 and a 24 here for the 8. That means now I have to multiply and find an equivalent fraction for each of these 5, 6, and 2/8. I have to find an equivalent fraction for each of them that has 24 as a denominator. How do I turn 5 6 into an equivalent fraction with 24 as a denominator? I ask myself, 6 times what number equals 24? And that's 6 times 4 gives me 24. Since I need to make this an equivalent fraction, I don't want to change anything. I have to multiply my numerator by the same thing. So I multiplied my 6 times 4. I have to multiply my 5 times 4, which gives me 20 24ths. Then over here for my 2/8, I have to ask myself, my 8, my denominator, times what is going to equal 24? I know that 8 times 3 equals 24, so to find an equivalent fraction for 2/8, I have to also multiply my numerator by 3. Again, it's very important that you multiply your numerator and denominator by the same thing for this. 8 times 3 is 24, 2 times 3 is 6, so I actually have 6 24ths. So now instead of 5 6 minus 2/8, I have 20 24ths minus 6 24ths, which gives me an answer when I subtract 20 minus 6 is 14 24ths. Remember, now that we have the same denominator here, when we subtract our fractions, you really just subtract the numerators. 20 minus 6 is 14, and then you keep your original denominator, 24. I'm going to ask that you pause the video here and try to solve these 4 problems on your own, and then when you unpause it, I'll show you the answers and how I got them. Alright, so how about you compare your work to my work and see how you did? For the first one, 5 9ths minus 1/3, I got the shared denominator of 9, so I did 5 9ths minus 3 9ths, which gave me 2 9ths. Then over here for 3/4 minus 1/3, my lowest common denominator between 4 and 3 was 12. So I multiplied by 3, I got 9 12ths, minus, I multiplied this fraction by 4, minus 4 12ths, 9 minus 4 gives me 5, and I keep my denominator of 12. Down here I had 1/2 minus 1/3. My lowest common denominator for 2 and 3 was 6, so I did 1/2 numerator and denominator times 3 to get 3/6, and then I did 1/3 numerator and denominator times 2 to get 2/6. 3 minus 2 is 1, and I kept my denominator to get 1/6. Then for the last one, my lowest common denominator between 6 and 2 can just stay 6, so I left my 5 6 alone. I multiplied my 1 and 2, my numerator and denominator, both by 3 to get 3/6. Then I subtract. 5 minus 3 gives me 2, so my final answer is 2/6. And that's how you subtract fractions that have two different denominators. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you learned something from this video, please make sure you hit the like button and leave a comment down below. Also, in the description, you'll see a link to my shop with all of the resources available for you to download. If you like everything you see in my videos, they could be yours as well. Thank you again for watching, and never stop learning.